Good morning. I'm Claudia Schwartz, welcoming you to our January 2023 UCSD HR Leadership event. A warm hello and Happy New Year to each and all of you. By participating today, you will earn 1 hour of credit towards your SHRM or certifications, PHR, SHRM certifications. And you will also receive a recording of our session today and a handout, quote unquote, so a digital copy of the slides. Now, it is a pleasure to introduce to you Patti Cuthill, the VP of People and Culture at Next Level Internet. And Patti is also the president of San Diego SHRM. So many of you already know Patti. And you may also know that Patti is an instructor at UCSD Extended Studies, teaching the Designing Exceptional Corporate Organizational Cultures. And a session of that course is beginning next week, Thursday the 19th. So if you and your team haven't signed up yet, you can go to our website and again, UCSD used to be a UCSD extension, as you know, and our new name is UCSD Extended Studies. But you can Google us, search, and then find the Designing Exceptional Corporate Organizational Cultures taught by Patti. So during our session today, please submit your questions at any point through the Q&A function, and we'll monitor that and jump in and answer questions as the subjects come up. So Patti, we're so happy to have you with us.
Thank you, Claudia. I'm so excited to be here too. And I was sharing with Claudia earlier that I'm in recovery of the great flu that's going around. So I might have to stop, and I apologize. I lose my voice a little bit. So, but I would not have rescheduled this for anything. So I love what I do, and I love to share just how some of the experiences that I've had putting culture together, because I think the way that I've learned throughout my career is obviously from other people and my mentors. And it's just such an important part. As Gary Ridge would say, as a tribal leader, your number one responsibility is to teach. So I really love sharing. So as Claudia said, you'll have my slides. You want to come and visit, or just call me and set up a virtual cup of coffee. I'm happy to connect with you. Again, I love what I do. I love sharing, so we can all be better and continue to grow the HR community in San Diego. One shout out for SHRM. If you're not a member, you're losing out. Please go on to our website and check it out. We have some really cool breakfast sessions coming up, and we're really excited about this new year and would love to have you in our community. So please take a look at us. All right, so I'm going to get started because I have several slides to go through. I'm going to go through them fairly quickly. The purpose of this is really to give you just kind of a 30,000-foot snapshot of how we kind of put things together, but a more in-depth, I guess, description would be more in the course that I teach at UCSD. So this is kind of a teaser, but there's enough in here that you'll have some takeaways. So I hope that you do. So first, I'd be remiss if I didn't give a shout out to my team, who is a very big part of everything we do at Next Level. And I really enjoy working with these two leaders. Sharis Lewis Goodman, you may know her. She is on the DEI committee with SHRM, and she is my employee experience leader. And then I have Marielle Campos, who is another one of my people partners, and she focuses on technology experience. And this group of ladies are just so integral in the success of the department. And so I wanted to give them a shout out. So I think I wanted to start with, I was thinking about how do I start this out, and I was reminded of a card that my mom gave me when I was starting out in my career. And The card is the picture of the gal on the right. That's not me as a kid. But she gave me that when I switched my career from finance to HR. And it just is such a great reminder of my determination and tenacity of really creating a great place for everyone to work. I believe business could be a force for good in the world. And I think that in our profession, we have such a profound opportunity to have that impact. And so I'm very passionate about that. So I thought, well, this is the kind of determination when you think of me, that's what I have. And then I did want to say my mom is my number one influencer in my life and how I lead. So I wanted to give her a shout out. So I made a couple extra slides here about influencers because one of the things that can be really hard sometimes when you're thinking about how do I build a culture? What kind of culture do I build? You know, we look at influencers that get us along the way. And sometimes I can be overwhelmed in the beginning of my career. There's so many great ideas and so many great leaders. How do I pick? What best practice do I use? And so I wanted to say that what I found is that I try to keep it to a small list of 5 to 6 people. And these refresh every now and then, but if you're trying to follow and do things that everyone's doing, you're just never going to get anywhere. So my advice is to just kind of hang on to a small group of people, at least to start building the core of your culture. And it will really help you make a lot of decisions early on. So I have some influencers here. Gary Ridge has been a mentor and influence of mine since 2006. You will see a lot of things in our culture that that are very similar to WD-40 Tribe, and that is not by mistake. Bob Chapman is another great influencer. He is really, he's the CEO of Barry Waymiller, and he has some really great things about compassionate listening and how important that is in the workplace, and just more of changing the world and the way we run business and how we operate business. So I really love him. Brene Brown, I'm sure you recognize her. Dare to Lead is one of my favorite books, and she just really helps me guide and when I'm thinking about culture and how we architect it. Cheryl Batchelder is another influencer that I really love. Again, she was the CEO of Popeye's Kitchen, and she just has some really great servant leadership ideas that I really love to pull from. Simon Sinek, you probably recognize him, another influencer, and Ken Blanchard, a local here that has been influencing my career from the very beginning. And we use a lot of his theories and practices. So those are my kind of top 6. I would say Marcus Buckingham is right in there, but I couldn't fit his picture on the slide. So then I think about what else about influencing that really influences the way I architect the culture. And I really look at duos. One of the things I was sharing with Claudia before you all jumped on was I learned a long time ago when I started my career how important the CEO and the HR leaders connection is in terms of building culture. And so a lot of times I'll look at companies that have that really strong relationship between the CEO and the CHRO because excuse me just a minute. Because that's a real important part of building a great culture. I have built cultures in a silo. I've built cultures in a department, and you can only do so much. You know, it all starts at the top. We talk about it, we say it, but I think until you really experience it, you don't really understand the power it has and just the amazing opportunities that it brings. My CEO and president, Derek Geetson, he thinks about people sometimes before I do when we're talking about a situation, and it's just so awesome that, you know, I was talking to him about onboarding just the other day, and he was reminding we got to make sure that it's high touch, high, you know, experience. And I just love that my CEO thinks about that and we're so in sync with it. And he'll remind me sometimes. I'm so used to reminding the CEO and the executives about, remember, there are people in this situation here. And I just love having that partner is a really big key to your success. And I would say how quickly you can get things done, the acceleration. So Accenture, I don't know if you're familiar with that company, but the CHRO Ellen Shook and then the CEO Julie Sweet, a great combo. I've seen them both speak. They both are great places to work, certified companies. And Accenture is a very future forward thinking company, and they are amazing. They're an amazing duo, and I just love them. And then we have the duo of CHRO and CEO from Cisco. We have a lot of influence similar to what Cisco does. I've been in a lot of conferences with them and they use the strengths and different things. And so that duo, it's really powerful. And I love a lot of the things that they're doing over at Cisco. I've talked about Bob Chapman and then his CHRO at Barry Waymiller, both of them. I wouldn't say they're a futuristic company like the ones you see here, the Accenture and the Cisco, but they have a real core fundamental, do good, love people, you know, they really have a great people focus, and they're a large 12,000 employee global company that has over 125 M&A activities. So they've really figured out how to do that well. So I love that duo. And then of course, you probably know Gary Ridge and Stan. Uh, these are the ones that are really core to me and what I've learned the most from. And they're local here. And I know Gary just retired, but such a big influence on the way that I architect the culture. So I just wanted to share that with you. Your dynamic duos will probably be different than mine, and that's okay. There's nothing you're going to take from this that you're going to take a box and plug it in. It's going to work for you. Culture is more about picking out the really great things you want to integrate into your company, and then making it right for who you are, what your values are, and what your culture is. So you can take some really great ideas, but they're never going to be the same as where they come from. So if you're looking for that really easy, I want to go to this company, learn how they do it, and plug it in, it does not work that way. And you don't want it to work that way. The fun part about creating culture is taking the best pieces of all of those companies, integrate them into yours, and make it about your company and who you are. And then someday someone will look at you and say, that's a great company. And we've all learned from a bunch of great leaders. So that's my kind of advice on the front end. Again, I thought about that, like that was always something that is in the back of my head about how do you start. So I would say know what you believe in and pick a handful, not a ton of them, because it'll be very complicated to execute that. So now I'm going to get into Next Level's playbook. A little bit about background about Next Level. I've been at Next Level for about 5 years. And I should say that in my career, I've worked for large companies, small companies. And in the last 10 years, I've really focused on startups. I'm a builder of people, companies, teams. I love building. And so part of being in your career for a long time is that you do start to hone in on what you really love to do. I am not a maintainer for a large company. That's never going to be where I sit. And even I tell my CEO when I started, once we get to this place and we're maintaining, I will move on because there'll be someone else that can do that so much better than I can. I'm just not designed that way. I like to build. I love the excitement of it. I love the every day you come in and there's a new challenge to face. I like to pivot and move fast and keep challenged, and that's just who I am. So my advice is know who you are also and what kind of company you want to be in to build that culture. It will make things so much better, and you'll just really end up loving what you do. I really do come in every day, and I can't wait to just find out what's next. What are we doing? How can I impact people? I just really love what I do. So at Next Level, I got there about 5 years ago, and they're a small company, and they really didn't have an HR person. So I started out as a department of one, as many of you probably have done. And from there, we started with building our values. They had a mission and vision statement, but we wanted to refresh that too. But before you can even build culture, you really need to understand, what do we believe in? What is our core values? Without values, to me, you really can't build a culture. So we started building that with Derek, by the way. And Derek and I had worked at another company before, the CEO, and he called me and asked me to join the company. And that's what I said about that partnership is so great when you're in sync with your CEO, and it's just such a great experience. And I hope you all have that opportunity. And so we've been building for the last 4 years. And so I'm going to talk about kind of how we did that. Again, we're a small company, but I love small companies. I've worked in large companies, and I think they both have their pros and cons. And again, it's just more about, what do you like and how do you fit in, and where can you share your gifts and talents that's going to have the most impact. So here's our vision and our mission. We are to be a community where we change lives through purpose, passion, and play. I'll talk more about the play part. That's the fun part, and I really enjoy. And then our mission is to actively connect people through relationships to impact our communities. And when you see our values, you're going to understand our values are intertwined in that mission and vision. The core values that we developed, we rank them just like Gary Ridge does at WD-40. It's important to rank your values, because when you make business decisions or people decisions, you need to really know where you stand and what's the most important in your decision. Our number one core value is we value building strong relationships, and we value people. So in every decision we make, whether it's for a client, an internal team member, our community, we look at that first. That's the most important thing, is we want to have that strong, positive relationship built with people. That's the number one. And then we're a principle driven company. And it has kind of a double meaning. We teach in principles. We rather not have a lot of rules. We say, here are our principles. If you follow our principles, you'll know what to do in each situation. Otherwise, you're trying to teach people, managers, and independent contributors, you're trying to teach them every moment something comes up, how to do it. If you teach them principles, they can pull that principle out and know what to do in the moment. So that's principle. And then we have really high integrity and ethics. So just because the bar is here from a legal standpoint, that doesn't mean that's where we're going to be. We're probably going to be way above that bar. So we make decisions based on that. That's important to us. And then our third one is we value an inclusive culture. That's really important to us because, as you know, all different experiences and backgrounds and people coming together is so much more powerful and innovative when you have that diverse group. And so that's really a cornerstone of what we do. And that's built into our hiring, it's built into our retention, and it's really something we look at from a caring for our people perspective as well. The fourth one is we value the greater good. So one of the things I love about Next Level is we give back to our community. So I've always loved the nonprofit world, but it's hard sometimes to make a living in the nonprofit world. So what I love is I didn't think I'd ever find a company that I could do both in. And I found that with Next Level because we do value community service. We will actually shut down 3 to 4 times a year, and we will take the whole group, the whole company, and we'll volunteer together. So we'll go to the food bank or the Boys and Girls Club, and something about being together in community and connection in the community is so powerful, and it builds that strong relationship. And so that's really important to us. And people who join our company, that's one of the things they talk about a lot. And we really enjoy doing it. And without the commitment of my CEO, would not be possible. Again, that's a big reason why we need to have that. And then we value growth and prosperity. That has kind of a double meaning for us. Definitely, we want to grow the company. In the last year, we have acquired a few companies. Our strategy now will be growth through M&A. But the other meaning to growth and prosperity is really growing our people. It's important to us that we develop them. So we do a lot of certification trainings because we're in a high tech industry, and we give opportunities for reimbursing up to almost $4,000 a year for anyone who wants to get education elsewhere. And sometimes we go above and beyond that if the person's has, if they can bring a business case of why to do that. But look, if you don't invest in your people and you don't grow them, they're going to go somewhere where they'll find that. And we really want to keep our great talent and retain them. And part of that is growing them and developing them. It's something that they can take with them. I want to say one little thing about that too is this might not be everyone's preference, but we really do look at it as a small company. Sometimes we can't grow people. There's no place to go except for maybe lateral and some stretch assignments. In that case, we really don't hold people back. If they want to, if they have an opportunity to go into a larger company and a leadership role, we really do help them transition into that role because we want what's best for our people and our alumni. I call them our alumni. They'll always talk about their experience with Next Level. So again, we don't want to lose people. We want to retain top talent, but we also want to care for people in the process. And sometimes that caring means they need to move on to another place where they can have, they can stretch their wings and share their gifts and talents. So we support that. So on the Next Level journey, these are some of the awards that we have received. And here's what I want to say. This is not a bragging slide, but what I will say is that when I see this, this is the voice of our people. I architect the culture, but our people earned that. Not me, not my team. Our people earned it. So I love the fact that this is, to me, a validation to what we're trying to do is working. But it's a continuous improvement. Every year we do our annual survey, which I'll talk about a little bit, but it's really important you're always on top of that. When we finish the survey, I'll talk about this, but the culture crew reviews the survey and we present it to the whole company. We present what we're going to maintain and we present what we're going to improve on. And we're completely transparent on the areas that we didn't do well. And we're really proud about that because the only way you can be better and get better is to identify the things that you need to improve on. So I look at this over the last 4 years. It took a year before I wanted to do anything because it was a building year. But after that, I really wanted to see is what we were architecting, does it work? And so I think that this is a good indication and a validation from our people. But we don't take it for granted. And again, it's not about that plaque on the wall. It's more about what the people are experiencing. And then this slide, I wanted to share this really quick because this really talks about our culture and what's most important. You can see that it has values at the top. You can see the strategy, and then you can see the arrows going around, and you can see where the strategy, the arrows keep going around and around like this because our strategy may change. A year ago, our strategy changed to growth through M&A, but our values will always be constant. Those will never change. You can see in the slide here, they're not going to change. We stay constant to that value. And that's really the core of how we create that. So I'd say we're a values-based organization. And we talk about this all the time. I teach this at onboarding. I teach it during Leadership Lab. Everyone understands how important values are to our organization. This I thought I'd share. This is just our culture strategy for people and culture. We have 4 focus areas: enriching analyzed culture, attracting and retaining talent, leading and serving today's workforce, and shaping tomorrow's workforce. So what I'd like to do is just create four, general areas that we're always focusing on to make sure that as we architect that culture, we're hitting all of those spots. So I just wanted to share that with you. I'm sure you all have your different strategies, but I just wanted to share that as an example of ours. Now this, if you know WD-40 and Gary, you've probably heard this before. But building, one of the things that we learned early on is when you're building a culture of trust and transparency, it's really important that the survival and security areas are taken care of right away. So the way we did that is uh, well, there's a lot of different ways, but the trust comes from the top down, and my CEO and myself, we talk about trust and the things that we're going to do to build trust. One of the things we did early on is to have a philosophy that we're going to pay at market for benefits and compensation. People need to know that they're going to be taken care of and that they're being treated fair. And if you take some of those things and you take care of your people, they're not focused on that during the day. That lets them go up to belonging and importance and start focusing on that and forgetting about the security and survival because they feel safe and they know they're being treated fairly. I think people miss this all the time. That's why it's so important you get through those first two, I guess, foundational pieces. Because if you don't do that, you're always going to be struggling to get to belonging and importance and self-actualization. So it's really important that you start there. So values are the principle that guide our behavior. I went over our values already, and you can see them here. We are constantly talking in front of our groups, and we have, integrated our values into our performance management systems, our rewards and recognition, and our onboarding. They're throughout the whole company. And so we have this saying, leading with love. And I said the four-letter word, and a lot of times that makes people uncomfortable, but we love our people. And there's a lot of love going on around Next Level. But the acronym living our values every day really stuck with me when I heard that. It's not my thing that I put there, but that is really something that people can hang on to. So we have these 5 values. You can't come in one day and decide, I'm just going to do 1 and 2 and leave the other 3 behind. You have to do every one of these values. You have to demonstrate them when you're at work. The other thing is culture equals values plus behavior times consistency. If I would say one thing, consistency is so important. What you talk about, how you implement things. If you're consistently talking about the same values, the same behaviors, people are going to understand. You're not to make it complicated. We want people to understand. So those are the 2 takeaways of values. But I really do like leading with love because I think it makes a lot of sense. I'm going to go through this really fast. Again, if you want more information, I can share it with you. So when I go into a design phase, I really think about culture as renovation, not transformation. So I told you I was a builder. And so I think going into a company as unless it's absolutely you're starting the company, there's already a culture there. There's already things that they may really love to do. And so part of our job is to, in the renovation process, is to figure out those things that maybe we can keep. Everything doesn't just have to be wiped out and new, because especially in M&A, there's some things that people really love about their culture that we'll want to keep. So that co-creation piece. And so there's 3 design phases. I have them here. Again, I will teach this in my class, but it's basically plan, build, and maintain. So I try to keep it simple. I don't like a lot of complication. And so that's kind of when I go in, especially when we have an M&A, this is where we start. And I do share this with the people in the new company so they understand what the process will be. and that they'll have an opportunity for co-creation. Okay, I'm going to move along. So, creating human and economic value and harmony is something that Bob Chapman talks about a lot. And I really love this idea. It's not one or over the other. It's not profits only or just about the people. It's about both. We have to keep that economic value in place to have a company. So I love creating human and economic value and harmony and talking about it that way to our teams because it's something they can understand. And I think it is about that harmony. And again, this comes from Bob Chapman. If you want to know more, a little bit the background of that, you can research him and talk about it. But he he has a background in finance, and he was taught in school to just look at the profits. And so he talks about his experience in bringing the people into that process and the value of it. So, so who are we doing this for? So at Next Level, we're doing it for our stakeholders, now stockholders, because we're a public company, our clients, our partners, and our team members. This is why we're creating this culture, not just for our internal team, but everyone. So one of the things we like to talk about is that we have kind of break our engagement into heart, head, and hands. Those are the things that, it's pretty easy, leading from the heart, being smart about what you're doing, and then having that commitment and that drive to execute it. So again, I like to keep things simple. We talk a little bit more about head, heart, and hands, and people really do remember it and kind of resonates with them. So we measure our success by the way we touch the lives of others. The great places to work, I want to just take a moment to talk about certifications. Not all certifications are created equal. So it took me a little bit of, going through a few surveys to really find the one that fit me and Next Level. So I only say that because this is my preference. It doesn't have to be yours, but it's really worked for us. The reason why we picked this particular survey is because it's built on trust. And if you remember in the very beginning, the first thing that we want to have is trust. And so it's important that we understand that we're creating that trust throughout the organization. So this survey every year gives us that opportunity. When the survey comes back, you're either certified or you're not certified. And what I found about this survey is they go really in depth to each area, and they focus on your mid-managers and how they're doing. Because we all know our mid-managers are the ones that really have the lion's share of success for the company. And so they really drill down, and it's about developing them. So it's not negative or punitive anyway. It's like, you're at this level, we want to bring you up to this level, this level, this level, this level. And it focuses on credibility, respect, pride, camaraderie, and fairness. So for our high trust model, this really works well for Next Level. And again, after we do the survey, the most important thing you need to do is you need to go back to your teams and let them know how the survey came out and what you're going to do about it. If you don't do that, no one's going to really take your survey seriously. It's a commitment you need to make, and we have a really quick turnaround, less than 2 weeks, to get back to our team members after we close. So it's really important that you do that. Our employer value proposition is built on 6 principles, which is meaningful work, truly human leadership, positive workplace, health and well-being, growth and opportunity, and trust in the organization. So trust, transparency, inclusion, and caring matters the most to us. So you can see some of our values in this. And as I talk about a caring culture, you'll see the number one word we get on our surveys every year is care, which I'm really proud of, because that really tells us that people feel like they're cared for. And to me, it just is so amazing that you can go to a workplace and the majority of your people see that coming through. So I love that. So Talent acquisition, this is just a real quick, the 5 attributes that we build our talent acquisition around. So the first one is calling, or you could say passion. The second one is competence, and then contribution. I like to say culture contribution versus culture fit, because I feel like culture fit might box you in a little bit. And we're not looking for people who are exactly like us. We're looking for people that can come into our culture and elevate it and bring new things into our culture. So I like to think of it as culture contribution. And then chemistry. Chemistry is so important on the team. Do they have the chemistry with the team that they're going to be joining? And then character. Character is a big deal with us. You saw our values, and it's really important that people have that high character. They're servant leaders. You know, we're not for everybody, and not everyone will fit our culture or contribute to our culture. But we do know what we want, and we do know what has been successful for us. And so we use these 5 attributes to drill down on that. And what I'll say is that when I do my, I guess, interview questions, they're all built around these 5 categories. So we kind of keep that with the values. So benefits, you know, benefits, I talked about that before, the safety and security. You need to take care of your people. You need to make sure that you have benefits that they can afford, and not just a free benefit that is scaled back, but really care for your people. Part of how people feel cared for is how you, your benefit design and your compensation design. That's a part of caring for people, and they understand that, and they resonate with that. So our benefits are value and strategy aligned. Compensation, we have variable compensation. So we do a pay for success model. We work with Tim Silva's group. He's amazing, really like working with him every year. So our commitment to pay at market, just a real quick background, is that we do a survey every year to make sure that we are at market. And then we have a competitive market range that we use, and it's open for everyone to see. It's completely transparent. And that again helps take out the mystery of everything and helps people focus on doing great work and not worrying about, am I being paid fairly? Is this right? And we educate, we do a whole education around the process I do, so people really understand that it is, we are really taking the time to do it right. So that's that integrity and trust for me and my department that we're doing that right. So this is my favorite part, is the culture crew. And this actually was born out of pure necessity when I started. I didn't have a team to work with me, and I didn't have enough Patties to go around to make it work. So I said, you know what, I'm gonna recruit some employees, and we're gonna come together, and they're gonna be my culture crew, and they're gonna help be culture ambassadors. They're gonna help create the experience. And so this is a group of people that we change out every year. So people have an opportunity to come in. And the people who were in before on the culture crew are the ones who either nominate or vote on for the people to come in, because they know what it takes to do the job. And they're just my fun group that's always looking out for how do we create an experience. We meet once a month. We go on team buildings. They come up with some really awesome ideas. They go to their departments, they get ideas from their departments, they bring them back to this group. So really great way to integrate all these little pieces all the way down from the top to the bottom and the bottom up. So they're the ones who review the survey. They have, they will see more data on culture than anyone in the company. And they are the ones who create the initiatives of what we're going to improve. So this is a real grassroots effort, and I love this team. I live for my culture crew. They're so much fun. All right. So I'm going to watch time. Where are we at right now? Let's see. Okay.
20 minutes to go.
Okay, perfect. I think we're good. So one of the things, if you know WD-40, you know that they have something called the Leadership Lab. So I want to first give props to Gary Ridge and his team, Roxanne, and Stan and that group over there. When I was looking to bring servant leadership into the organization in the very beginning, I was like, oh my gosh, how am I going to teach this? How am I going to bring this through in the culture? And so I'm going to share this story with you because hopefully it'll give you some inspiration. But so we were at an HR event where Gary was speaking, one of the small ones. I think it was called HR Cafe back in the day. It was like about 4 years ago. And I've known Gary since 2006 because I was when I switched my career from finance to HR, there were some WD-40 employees in my class, and we went to WD-40 for a study group, and it was on a Saturday. I'll never forget it. And we were studying, and Gary came in the room, and the couple of the gals said, "Oh, that's the CEO of WD-40." I'm like, "Oh." And he sat down with us and he talked about leadership. He asked us questions. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's the first time I've ever been around a CEO that would just come in and sit down and do that. So I always tell Gary that he set the bar for CEOs for me that day. He was so amazing. Like he was just like one of the guys just sitting there talking. And I'd always had this, guess, different viewpoint of executives and CEOs. And he just really set the bar for me that day. And I've been following him ever since. So anyways, so fast forward now, and I come into next level, and I'm trying to think about servant leadership. And I know WD-40 has that. And there, he's talking about it at this meeting. And I looked at my team, two of my team members that came with me. I said, I'm going to ask Gary if I can go to his leadership lab. And so they're totally embarrassed. They do not want me to talk to Derek. We're walking out, we're waiting. He's still talking, and we wait for probably 30 minutes until he's done talking to everyone. He comes out, and I go, Gary. And my team is so embarrassed. They're like, they want to go hide. I'm like, no, I mean, what's the worst he can do? He can tell me no. So I'm, Gary, it's me, Patti. Like, he has no idea probably who I am. And I stopped and talked to him, and I said, I'm trying to bring servant leadership into our organization. And I love what you talked about with Leadership Lab. Would there be a possibility that I can maybe join that? You know, I mean, I'm always one for like, what's the worst someone could say is no, right? And so he took out a piece of paper and he's like, I'm going to give you my email when you get back to your office. I want you to email me, and I will put you in touch with Stan, and you guys can talk about it. And so I get it from him. I'm like, yeah, he's not going to email me back, you know? So I get back to my office right away. I email him. I mean, 5 minutes later, he's replied back, introduced me to Stan. And that's where the journey began with Leadership Lab. And I joined their Leadership Lab and learned everything that I created for next level through them. So I just tell you that story because you never know until you ask. And the worst thing that's going to happen is if they say no, and you're no worse off, right? So I'm always like trying to be bold and so that's how I created it. I had no idea how to teach servant leadership. And then I thought, oh, this is much better. And so I was thinking very direct, but then all the classes that we do, there's 12 modules. And I kind of morphed it from what they do, but I brought in 12 modules for the Leadership Lab, and we teach that for everyone in our organization. And it's a huge part of people understanding our culture and living our culture and values. So just a shout out to WD-40. They're amazing. And I've learned so many great things from them. But this Leadership Lab, if I was going to say one takeaway today, is if you can do this in your organization, it's amazing. And it's not just about, oh, I'm going to pick the high potential people. Everyone gets to participate. And it's not just the individual contributors in this class and the executive leaders in this class. No, it's everyone together. That's by design. So you can learn from executives, build relationships from managers, and they can learn from the individual contributors too. So it's top, bottom up. It's so we don't say only this group gets to go in here. And then who are we to say who has potential and who doesn't? I really don't believe that. I think I've had a lot of sleepers in my day where you don't think they're going to do well and lead, and they surprise you. So I would say invest in your people and you might be surprised. So these are some of the books that we go through in Leadership Lab. Some of this I've added. The 5 languages of appreciation is something we do. I would also recommend that. That's if you've heard of the 5 languages of love. This is for the workplace, and so everyone in our company does this, so that our managers and coaches and leaders know how to appreciate their people. You may think, I want to give them an award in front of everyone, and they may be mortified about that. Maybe they just want to go to lunch with you. So this is a great way to understand, how do I really appreciate people? How do I really make them feel valued and loved? This is a real, granular way to drill in and look at that. It's a great book, great assessment. These are the books. Everybody Matters. I would also say, please read that. That is that is Bob Chapman. He talks about he's on a journey with Raj Desoda to talk about compassionate listening, because people aren't taught how to listen. And he has some really great things. I teach listening and in our leadership lab. It's so important that people understand how important that is and how impactful that is on a person. But his thing about Everybody Matters, I think about that all the time, is that when someone comes in and they're complaining or they have this really hard issue, I think about, that's someone's mother, that's someone's daughter, that's someone's, you know, that's someone precious. That's someone's precious child. So I have to kind of sometimes put that lens on so I can really listen compassionately and get through some of this stuff. So anyways, great book. And Leading at a Higher Level is really a core book that we use for the Leadership Lab. This is, again, the Leadership Lab. These are the modules that I teach. I'm happy to share this with you guys. Happy to share the PowerPoints if you want those too. So again, it's something that was a gift from WD-40, and I've kind of tweaked it a little bit, but if you get it, you'll probably tweak it a little bit and make it better. And I hope you share back with me if you make it better. So I'm happy to share that. We are also a strengths-based organization. And I don't know if anyone's familiar with Clifton Strengths, but this is a great way. I'm a strengths coach, and this is a great way to really understand how people are wired. You can be really great at something and not be fulfilled. I was really great at accounting. I loved numbers. They were easy to me. I love the story numbers tell, but I did not like that job at all. And when I got into HR and I started being around people, that is when I was like, oh my gosh, I feel fulfilled now. Oh my gosh, it's so different. So again, you can be good at something and not be fulfilled. And a lot of times in our society, you're pushed to do the things you're good at. And it may not be something, look, what I'm saying though is you can be good at multiple things. So, but you got to be careful to find out if you're fulfilled. And this kind of helps people do it. And then situational leadership, I'm sure there's some people here that is very familiar with this. I love this model. Again, keep everything simple. That is a great tool. Ken Blanchard has a Teach the Trainer course. We teach it internally to everyone, and it's a great way to communicate with your leaders and your individual contributors and how they get through things. It's a great way to not micromanage people and understand that. So we use that tool. And then I have one more slide after this. This is rewards and recognition. So rewards are value and strategy aligned. You'll see me say that throughout the whole thing. So everything we pick is tied back to our strategy and tied back to our values. So we have a legendary service model. This is a Ken Blanchard model. And that's what our service standard is. We have the 5 languages of appreciation. I talked a little bit about that. Love that book. And then we have other rewards and recognitions. We have a Rockstar Award, and that's basically you nominate your peer. And let me just say one thing: peer-to-peer rewards is, I think they're like 90% impactful versus a leader to individual contributor. So we really, really focus on peer-to-peer recognition. We have a night on the town, which is $100 bill. If someone does something really awesome or a client emails back and said they were really impressed, we do a presentation. We do a 15-minute Friday. Every Friday we huddle as a company and we talk about the Rockstar Awards and any of these recognitions. So we do that once a week and we keep that in front of staff. Okay. And then last thing I'll say is performance management. Everyone's favorite topic. Not. I still think that we have a long ways to go with performance management. Marcus Buckingham, to me, I really follow him and what he said. He has a great article in HBR about performance management. And I don't think we've got it figured out, but we do have this system called 15.5. It's a software that allows us to document our one-on-ones. It also allows us to do performance management monthly, quarterly. We do it quarterly right now, but we do meet with our teams every week. We think that nudging and talking about it and coaching in the moment is way more important than doing a quarterly or even an annual review, because you're looking backwards. We like feed forward instead of feedback. So we use that tool to document that. And it's just such an awesome tool. And it's based on positive psychology. So that's another big thing. Strengths is based on positive psychology. And so is this software, which is really awesome. And then, of course, Gary Ridge has a book, Helping People Win at Work. Don't mark my paper, help me get an A. I'm sure you've all heard of that one. We do use that. We have kind of transitioned to 15.5 and taken that eval and put it into the software. And so it's way more manageable, but it's a great program. So that actually, that is the end of my slides. I do have other pictures I can run through, just like really quick, maybe a minute, if you think, or are there questions?
Well, and Patti, while you show a couple of your slides, we encourage everyone to submit questions. There are a couple of questions, but we can take a look at your slides and see what other questions come in.
So I would say that celebrating is really important. People remember celebration. So any opportunity we can have to celebrate at next level, we take advantage of it. And creating moments of joy, that's something that has come from, I have a whole story behind that, but my mother has Alzheimer's. And so one of the things I learned was that sometimes you only get them for a moment, and you take that moment and you tuck it in your heart. Sorry. And so I brought that into the architecting of the culture, because people really do remember moments. Maybe not these big things, but just these little moments, they're so important. So we have creating moments of joy, and I have a lot of examples of those. This is something I did for parents for just Father's Day and Mother's Day. I asked them to choose one word that described parenthood and then have a little write-up. And then they sent pictures in. Real simple, didn't cost anything, did it in PowerPoint. We have a lot of veterans, so I do a profile on veterans on Veterans Day. Again, PowerPoint, real simple, doesn't cost a lot. We like to do those little small acts of kindness, and we have a lot of fun. So we try to brighten people's day with just little things. Again, doesn't have to cost a lot. Building community, living our values every day. So we have culture days. So part of being remote now, it's like very hard to come together. So we have really designated days that everyone comes into the office, or we have offices in Florida, Texas, and California. So we just pick whatever home office, and people come in for culture days. This is another culture day. I mean, it's funny if you look at all our pictures, it's like everyone's always celebrating something. This is my partner in crime, Derek, the CEO. We're serving Thanksgiving dinner to the group. So that was just really fun. We had building community one paint stroke at a time. So we did a painting class. We have a wellness team. So this was one of the days they did a salad club, which is kind of fun. They really get into it. And you never know who's really going to come out of their shell in these. During COVID, when we couldn't really come together, we did like kind of, we rotated people, tried to keep them 6 feet apart, and we did project blankets for the fire department. I always feel like you can find something to do even when there's restrictions. Like we served the veterans. We went up to North County and served food. So just another opportunity. We do a toy drive every year. We go to Toys for Hope, which is handing out toys to kids in Oceanside. We do that once a year. We serve at the food bank once a year. They love this part of it. The first year we had, I was on the board for San Diego Food Bank, so I thought I was going to be really clever and say, okay, our first one is going to be at the food bank. And we got there and I thought, oh, this is going to be really great. And we walked in and our job was to sort onions. I thought, oh my gosh, did I do something wrong on the board? Is this my punishment? But anyways, once we started that, oh my gosh, they love this. Again, doesn't cost anything. So, with being remote, we try to get creative as we can. So we do little different things. And again, our culture crew is always coming up with ideas and keeping things relevant. I think the Zoom fatigue is real. People don't want to do that as much anymore. So we just are trying to be creative as we can. During COVID, this was Operation Bunny Ears. We came in and we packed a bunch of boxes for the team members and we did prizes. We did bingo. So we did virtual bingo. So again, just being creative. Ho ho home for the holidays. This was during COVID also, where we did our party virtually, but we sent care packages to everyone. We put a cocktail together and it was just a lot of fun. And then what is your superpower? From time to time, I'll get quotes from our team members. Clarissa here is one of our female engineers, and they're really hard to find. And so I like to highlight her. And then just do little highlights for our team members. This is Shara, she's on my team, and Joel. So just some fun things. For the onboarding, I just really quickly, because I know we have like 3 minutes left, but for the onboarding right here, you see the picture on the desk, that came from Walmart. And what we do 5 fun facts when people come on board, so we can send it out to everyone. We get a theme for their onboarding. And so that's what you'll see. This person was a baseball theme. But this picture is so popular because I thought, why not bring your family to work on your first day? So when they come, they have their family on their desk. So that was just an idea that we had. This person liked camping, so we went out, did a camping one, and bowling, and then movies. I worked for Comic-Con for a little while. We did a lot of movie afternoons, and so we'll close down for the afternoon and go to a movie. Again, just having fun. That's it.
Oh, well, Patti, thank you so much. I have a few questions, but I know we're almost there with time. Maybe we can keep the answers very short, and then we will encourage everyone to connect with you through LinkedIn and ask the questions if they would like more detail. So one of them is, what is your culture budget?
Oh, well, I've gone from a shoestring budget to probably around 1 to 3% of revenue.
Good answer. Yes, specific. Thank you. And then, is everyone at Next Level full-time, or how would you adapt what you do to a part-time, just-in-time workforce, including remote?
So we do have remote employees around. We have 4 different offices and we have 100% remote employees. So it is a struggle, the remote part, trying to make it feel the same as it used to feel before COVID. And I don't have a specific answer. I think we're all still trying to figure it out. I think the most important thing is to make people feel included. People want to feel included. And I think asking people what they want. So part of the culture crew, we have one of our team members we added was a remote lead, so they could tell us how they're feeling from a remote perspective. So again, I think just ask your people; they'll tell you what they like and what they want.
Yes. And are they all full-time was the question?
So we have some part time, some full time,
Both. Okay.
and we treat them all the same.
Mhm. So if you have additional questions, Patti, thank you for being so generous and welcoming connections through LinkedIn, people contacting you and asking additional questions. You really are a wonderful servant leader and a teacher. So thank you. We're so lucky to be part of your tribe. And thank you so much for sharing your knowledge. And so everyone, invitations will go out today for our February 8th event. And Corey Fish, the HR leader at St. Paul's Senior Services, is going to be talking to us about leadership in action, a candid talk. Watch for that. And Patti, thank you again. Applause to you. Thanks,
Thank you. Thank you.
everyone, for joining. See you next month.